So the biggest mistake that ends up holding shorter men back from ever achieving the dating life they truly desire is resorting to blaming all of these like peer-reviewed papers, all these studies and articles talking about women only want to date taller men, women only prefer guys who are 6 feet tall, women don't find shorter men attractive, whatever bullshit you're reading. Look, hand me that study and I'll wipe my fucking ass with it because I'll tell you this. I'm 5'6", and dating comes easy for me. It comes easy for me. And resorting to blaming these studies, it's honestly pathetic. Like, this is the weakest thing you can do as a man. You're quite literally rejecting yourself before even trying. You're disqualifying yourself. You're telling yourself, I'm not good enough to even try. I'm not good enough to even try and approach that girl on the street. Whatever. Like, that's lame, dude. That's lame. Like, do you even have a pair of balls? Do you even have a pair of balls? Like, this is low testosterone behavior. Genuinely. It's mainly the guys who are terminally online that watch all the like looks maxing videos that resort to blaming these studies or whatever. Some of you guys are so stupid when like will resort to blaming like TikTok street interviews. Like, this isn't reality, bro. This isn't reality. But another thing you have to take into account, and this is like the inner red pill in me, and I don't want to get like too red pilled, but like women will say shit and they don't even know what they're saying, bro. They don't mean half the shit they say. Like, how often have you heard a girl say, I'll never date a guy like that? And then the next thing you know, she's going out with that kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like, women just say shit. A good rule I live by is don't pay attention to what she says, pay attention to her actions, because actions speak louder than words. But I find a lot of guys deal with height insecurities because there's a lot of stigma around it. You know, you see a lot of stuff online, and I know I was saying don't let that stuff get to your head, but I get it, bro. I get it. There was a point in my life where I was really insecure about my height. So I'm going to give you guys a little story. I hit puberty in my growth spurt a lot earlier than my peer group. So when I was about 12, 13 years old, I was 5'6", 145 pounds. Like, I was a giant, bro. I was ginormous. And I remember everyone would always talk about how big I was and how I needed to play football and I needed to be a linebacker. And I was like always known as the kid who would like finish everyone's food. Like, I was huge, bro. I was huge, and it gave me a lot of confidence and it made me feel like the man. And I remember like the few times I got like bullied, I was able to stand up for myself. Like, I fucking slammed a kid in the locker one time, got in huge trouble, got sent to the principal's office, but I stood on business. I was like, no, this kid's a prick. He deserved it. Whatever. But anyways, getting back to the story, by the time I reached high school, because, you know, we went on summer break and going into, you know, the first day of freshman year, I remember the first day of school, everyone was taller than me. Everyone was taller than me. Like, they were like 5'10", 5'11". Some guys were like already 6 feet. And I genuinely believed that I shrunk. I thought I got smaller. I was like so confused because I was so used to being the big guy. And this made me feel insecure. It made me feel really insecure. And I didn't feel like the man I used to be. And I even had like a girlfriend for a small period of time. And I remember like I would always complain to her and talk to her about how I, you know, hated that I was short and I was insecure about it. And by the way, like, if you're in a relationship, never talk about these kinds of insecurities with a girl. Like, that is the easiest way to lose attraction. Like, just man up and be more confident, which I'm going to teach you how to do in this video. Um, anyways, you know, she was losing attraction for me because women, they crave a man who's confident in himself. You should never complain to a girl. Women love confidence. If you're going through a problem, talk to your boys about it, sort it out on your own. Look for solutions. Complaining to your girl is not something you should never do. But because of that, she lost a lot of attraction towards me. But eventually, by the time I was like 16, 17 years old, I made a pact with myself that I would never let my height be an insecurity or a disqualifying factor, and that I was never going to let it control me or define who I was. And that was a pivotal moment in my life because then, you know, instead of resorting to blaming my height for women not finding me attractive or me not feeling like other men respected me, I was now operating in this mindset of how can I work to improve to be better in every other aspect of my life that I can control. And this was like the predecessor to what I now coin as short guy game, which is what I teach on this channel, maximizing every other stat and trait and pillar of your life that's in your control to make up for the height issue we're going through. Because I'll be real, bro, like things would be easier if you were taller. Things will be easier if you're taller, but that doesn't mean you can't try. You have to try. You're a fucking man. There's things you want and you need to go after them. Stop being a spectator. Stop playing the victim and blaming your height. Like, that's lame as fuck, dude. That's lame as fuck. And the reason I've been able to make it so far, the reason I can go on a dating app and get dozens and dozens of matches any night of the week, get cold approached, get noticed by girls, and just go out with the kind of girls that I'm actually into is because I stopped playing the victim. I worked on myself. I became more handsome. I got in shape. I worked on my grooming. I worked on my social skills. I worked on my income. I worked on everything I could so I could be far better than the average man I'm competing against. Because dating, the reality is it's a competition. That girl that you're attracted to, other dudes want her too. Other dudes want the exact same girls you want. So it is in your absolute best interest to become the best man you possibly can be. And as a shorter man, you definitely have to be the best man you possibly can be because you're going to lose to these guys. You're going to lose. But I'm telling you, when you beat the competition, which the competition, I'm going to be real, the bar is actually really, really low. Like, I might be scaring you, I might be intimidating you, but the bar is actually really low. The bar is really low. In fact, if you look around, most guys are skinny fat. Most guys are socially awkward. They're afraid to talk to girls. But when you can work on all these pillars, you instantly become a girl's top pick because you're different than all these guys. In fact, if you find that you're constantly getting told by girls things like, I don't date short guys, or sorry, you're not 6 feet tall, I'm here to tell you that's not the real reason she's rejecting you. That's not the real reason. It's very rare that a woman will actually reject you because you're short. I've never been rejected for my height. Never. I can't think of a single time I've ever been told you're too short for me. And the reality is when a girl says, I don't date short guys, what that actually means is she doesn't like you because you're severely lacking as a man. You're either out of shape, you're broke, you're socially awkward, you can't speak very well when you talk to girls, like you stutter over your words, you can't hold eye contact, you don't dress nice. You just got all this shit going on. You got all this shit going on, and it's a lot easier for her to say, yeah, I don't date short guys, and say, yeah, you're fat or you're broke, whatever. Like, a girl's not going to say that to you. Like, just have some common sense. Objectively look at yourself in the mirror. But that's so hard for so many of you guys to do because it hurts your ego. It hurts your ego, and I get that. I was in a position where I used to feel entitled to these women, and I thought I deserved better, but my dating life was non-existent, so I would resort to blaming my height or whatever. But the reality was I was severely overweight, and I was a hermit crab living in my room, addicted to porn, playing Fortnite till 3 a.m. every single night. Like, I was unemployed, and I felt entitled to dating all the 7s, 8s, and 9s, but I couldn't attract them to save my life. Surprise, surprise. And eventually, I drew the line in the sand. I drew the line in the sand and realized, enough's enough. Enough's enough. I'm not going to let my height be a disqualifying factor. If I want the dating life I truly desire, if I want to be able to attract the kind of girls I'm actually into, so I don't have to just settle for any girl, I need to work on myself as a man. This is unacceptable for me to be unemployed. This is unacceptable for me to be watching porn. This is unacceptable for me to be playing Fortnite till 3 a.m. and waking up at 10 a.m. every single day, living my life with no purpose. So, I was going to the gym at the time, but I decided to take my fitness, to the next level, dialed in my diet, cut out all the processed food, lost about 25, 30 pounds. And for the first time, I got to about like 12% body fat. And I had like a 6-pack, I had bicep veins, my face became more attractive, like my face got more angular, more lean, my jawline was more pronounced. I became unrecognizable. And when I improved myself, for the first time ever, when I was going out, girls were admiring me. Girls were checking me out. I started getting approached. I started getting choosing signals everywhere I went, whether I was at the gym, the grocery store, running errands, the mall, wherever. Stuff I never experienced before in my life, to the point to where I was like genuinely going through imposter syndrome and thought it was too good to be true because, again, my dating life was non-existent up until this point. Up until this point. And I decided to make a Bumble account, and I made the cover photo a shirtless photo of myself out by the pool. And within 6 hours of creating the account, I had 200 likes. I had 200 likes. Like, that was something I had never experienced before. And that's when it confirmed to me, like, wow, like, it doesn't matter that I'm short. Women actually find me attractive because I'm handsome, I'm in shape, I'm attractive, I'm different than all these other guys. So you have to absolutely obliterate your competition. You have to do everything you can to make up for your flaw, because your flaw, which is your height, it is a disqualifier. It is a disqualifier, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. If you work on yourself to be the best man you can be every single day, and you don't limit yourself to being some statistic that you heard on some peer-reviewed paper or some TikTok, you can do far better than any man who's 6'3". 6'3". Literally. My brother's 6'3". And he comes to me for help with girls because he struggles. He can't get second dates. Girls don't treat him well on dates. I got a buddy who's 6'4". You know, I put him through the exact protocol I went through to make my transformation in my looks and my physique. And now girls are literally inviting him over to their place. But before that, he hadn't gone on a date in 5 years. So for those of you that are like, oh, if I just woke up 6'4" tomorrow, then I'd have a girlfriend, then I'd get laid. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Just being tall isn't good enough. Is it an advantage to getting noticed easier and maybe landing a date here and there? Of course, I'm not going to deny that. But just being tall won't save you. It's not about being good in one area. That's why I said, don't just focus on the physique. Don't just focus on the money. Don't just focus on the looks. Focus on being well-rounded. You want to be good in all these areas because you're competing against everyone. If you're competing against a guy who's tall, but he's fat, he's broke, he's socially awkward, and you're not, you're going to beat that guy. She's going to choose you all day because you're better than that man. The only time you're going to lose to a guy who's taller than you is if he's of equal stature as you. He's making just as much money. He's, just as handsome. He's just as in shape, right? The only thing he has against you is your height. But I mean, realistically speaking, how often are you going to be in that scenario where your competitor, the other guy she's talking to, is just as good as you are, assuming you've made the, self-development, you've improved as a man like I'm telling you to do. How often are you going to compete against a guy who's taller than you, who's 6 foot, who's crushing it in all those other areas of your life? You're not. You're not. So stop blaming your height. It's not the problem. If you want to work one-on-one with me, boys, I help guys maximize their self-image so they become more attractive. So I help guys, figure out what haircut to get, how to dress, what workout program to do, what diet to follow, so they can become the most well-rounded man they can be and dominate all areas of their life. I'm not just talking about, dating, but your career, your friendships, everything, networking, because, how you look highly correlates with how you feel. And how you feel, I mean, that energy, it outwardly projects in the world, and it's going to attract so many more, better opportunities in your life, whether you're shaking hands to win a business deal, trying to make new friends, or, of course, dating, which was kind of the theme of this video and the stuff I talk about on this channel. But if you're looking to take your dating life to the next level and experience some of the stuff I've talked about in this video, just click the top link in the description of this video and you can book a one-on-one coaching call with me and I'll help you get right, man. But that's it for this video. If you guys have any questions about my one-on-one coaching, about my one-on-one mentorship, just shoot me a DM on Instagram. I answer all my DMs. But that's it for this video, guys. Peace.